This is an AZ Court Help Legal Talk on who can help with my legal issue, filmed in May of 2023. Thank you.
My name is Christy, and I am an attorney, but my most recent role is working at the University of Arizona, James E. Rogers College of Law, Legal Paraprofessionals, or LP for short, because it is a bit of a mouthful. LPs have been around for about 2 years now. They were part of a really innovative approach to try to see how we can close our access to justice gaps that we have in Arizona. We've got two main problems when it comes to access to justice. It has to do with financial, so having the resources to be able to hire an attorney, or geography. And that's our other issue. And the ABA pointed that out in a study in 2020 saying that, and I think they called it legal deserts. We have legal deserts in Arizona where there just are not legal resources available. And the comparison they drew was looking at just our state's population compared to the number of people who are lawyers practicing in Arizona. And it's just a problem that can't be solved just by pro bono hours alone. So our Supreme Court said, let's try something different. And they created a new tier of legal service provider that's actually able to give you legal advice. So what is an LP? So they wrote another section of the code. This is located in the same place as the Certified Legal Document Preparer, but a different section. So it's still the Arizona Code of Judicial Administration, but this is code section 7-210. And within that code section is all of the requirements and the scope of practice that an LP must abide by. So this would be an individual license to this specific section, and they're licensed to provide legal services without the supervision of an attorney in the areas of law and within the scope of practice that are defined within that code section. So in order to become an LP must complete also required education and or experience, which is what I've been working on at the U of A, and I'm very proud of our LPs that will be getting licensed here. We're expecting our first LPs this summer. Part of the licensing process beyond education and experience is they have to pass at least 2 exams. They have a core exam and then an exam related to the area they're getting licensed in. They also have to be of good moral character and pass a background check, just like the certified legal document preparers. And then they apply for licensure with the same Board of Non-Lawyer Legal Service Providers. Once the Board of Non-Lawyer Legal Service Providers approves them, the license is issued by the Arizona Supreme Court, and they actually become affiliate members of the Arizona State Bar. They pay the same bar membership fees as lawyers. And I'm going to show you in a couple of tools that you can access LPs the same way that you can access lawyers through the State Bar. So some things to keep in mind about LPs: they are not attorneys. They should not ever hold themselves out as attorneys. They are LPs. But as LPs, they can provide legal advice in the area they are licensed. They must follow the exact same professional conduct rules as attorneys, with a few exceptions. One of those exceptions having to do with multi-jurisdictional practice, meaning practicing in different states other than Arizona. This is an Arizona-specific license, so rules that govern that don't have anything to do with LP practice. LPs also have to complete the exact same number of hours of continuing legal education every year as a lawyer. So a lot of similarities, and if you have any ethical concerns with an LP, you actually report them to the State Bar just like you would an attorney. So we're using a lot of the same infrastructure that's already in place, but being able to offer you another tier of service. So I keep talking about they can only practice in the area of law that they're licensed in. So what areas are those? There are 5 areas now. It looks like 6, but let me explain. So there's family law, which is probably the broadest area of practice. And you'll see on each of these slides, there are some exceptions. So for instance, an LP can do a divorce case from beginning to end. And by beginning to end, I mean filing the documents or doing client intake, filing the documents, going to court with you. The only thing that then stops is they cannot do appeals work. So if something happens at the trial court that's an appealable issue, that is not something an LP can handle. They also are not allowed to prepare quadros, and really the way it's worded, handle retirement funds. That's something that you would have to discuss with a lawyer. They also can't divide formal business entities or commercial properties. Those are the only exceptions in family law. In civil law, it's called limited jurisdiction civil. And the reason is jurisdiction just refers to which court an action can be brought in. So in civil, the way jurisdiction is determined is by dollar amount. So if the dollar amount in question is $10,000 or under, it will fall within LP scope of practice. And this puts your case in justice court or municipal court. So as long as what's being asked for is under that threshold amount, then the LP can handle everything having to do with that case, including the court appearances. This covers things like evictions, even some orders of protection that are in justice court and municipal court would fall under this civil umbrella. There's also debt collection. And of course, if there's any sort of personal injury or something that falls under that threshold, that would be brought properly in the jurisdiction of those two courts, then an LP would be handling that. Criminal law is another one that started where it was sort of a limited jurisdiction. They were only looking at misdemeanors as long as there was no jail time. But that's already been broadened to where you will see LPs in Superior Court able to handle initial appearances and also continue to advocate for pretrial release if an attorney hasn't been appointed or hired. Administrative law involves Arizona agencies only. So administrative law has to do with practicing in front of an agency. Some examples would be, well, federal agencies are what come to mind first of all, but like the Department of Education for Arizona, for example, which is one of the clinics that we have for our administrative law LPs, that would be considered an agency that you might hire someone to help represent you in front of. And then the newest endorsement or practice area is juvenile law, and that has just recently been added. And these are for thinking of dependency cases specifically. And an LP is allowed to represent the parent, the child, and even the state. So LPs might start off being hired by the Attorney General's office for dependency cases. The only limitations have to do with the actual dependency trial, the termination, or if it's an ICWA case. And ICWA stands for the Indian Child Welfare Act. It has to do with the parties that are involved in that case, and those cases do tend to be a little more complicated. So they're saying the LPs will not handle those cases. Those cases will stay with the lawyers. Now, adoptions is a new area that is added as a possibility. If the LP is already licensed in family law or juvenile law, then they can take another test and add an adoption certificate to their scope of practice, meaning that then they will be allowed to complete adoption cases. So it's an exciting area. It's expanding rather than contracting in terms of the areas of practice they're allowed to help people in. So it's a little more complicated than the certified legal document preparer because they can do any area, but they can provide you with legal advice as long as it's not beyond their licensed area. And also you'll notice there's a lot of areas in law that weren't named there. If it's not named, that they can't help you in that area. So wills and trusts, they can't help with that. Immigration, they can't help with that. What makes an LP different from a certified legal document preparer? So remember, the main difference between the two is legal advice. An LP can give you legal advice. A legal document preparer cannot give you legal advice. What a legal document preparer can do is provide document services in any area of law that they wish, whereas an LP can only provide you legal advice in the area of law they're licensed in. A legal document preparer cannot go to court with you. An LP can't. They will go to court with you. They can speak on your behalf. They can negotiate on your behalf. They function in the same way as an attorney within the area of law that they're practicing and licensed to practice in. So what are the stats for LPs? Remember, this is a much newer program. So I'm expecting a few more numbers to be added on the 22nd. That's the next time the Board of Non-Lawyers is meeting. But as of right now, we have 41 licensed LPs in the state. The majority are in family law, and you might understand why, given that, number one, family law is high need, right? There's been a lot of people going without representation in family law. It also has the broadest scope of practice for an LP, so it's attractive to many LPs because of how much they are allowed and authorized to do in this area of law. We are seeing some people doing dual licensing, meaning they're getting licensed in family and civil or civil and criminal. So that enables them to practice in both of those areas. We're anticipating the first administrative law licenses. We've been waiting on the exam. It's taken quite a while for that exam to be available. But I've heard, and I'm wondering at this next meeting if we'll see our first ones licensed. And then the juvenile law license is really new. Of course, there's no test yet, and we are anticipating having our classes available at U of A for this new area by the spring of 2024. So I'm really thinking we might not see licenses until around that same time too. It takes a while to get the test materials together. And at U of A, we approximately have about 100 students that are working towards this licensure. So I really expect you're going to see these numbers continue to climb. But like any new program, it takes a while, especially because the educational requirements are pretty high. They're all degree tied. So someone has to have the time to be able to finish the degree and the courses that are required. And if someone is getting licensed based on experience, it's they require 7 years of the past 10, and 2 of those years must be in the area they're seeking licensure. So it's a pretty high threshold, and I think that's why it takes a little while for people to be able to meet those requirements. So how do you find an LP? Well, there's actually 2 ways. The first way I'm going to show you is a similar website to what I showed you for the Certified Legal Document Preparer, except this is the state's website for legal paraprofessionals. It's organized the same way. You also are able to file a complaint here. If I were to click on this tile, it would take you directly to the state bar. But what I'm going to show you right now is the directory. You'll see that this directory is much different just because of the numbers. The other one goes for pages and pages and pages with almost 3,000 people. This one still is constructed the way the other one used to look. So you are able just to do a control find function. And I'm just going to type in Yuma, and then it highlights it for me. And obviously with only 41, it's not so hard to find, but it is easy to do a quick search to see, is someone working in my town or my county, and they do have the county served as well, that I could call and see, if it's a good match for my case. And it also does show you the areas of law that they call it an endorsement. An endorsement means practice area. It's the same thing. So these are the areas of practice that the current licensed LPs are practicing in. Let's see. And then the other way to find them is through the State Bar website. So if you go to, you can just Google State Bar of Arizona and it'll get you to this website. I'm in the section of where we're looking for legal help. And this is also how I can find a lawyer too. So what I'm going to do is just search by my need. Let's say I have a family law question or issue, and I'm looking for someone to help me with it. And that's really all I'm going to put in, and I'm going to just hit the search button. And it's going to generate for me, it's going to first show me all the attorneys. So it's a great way to get some ideas of who you could call that is an attorney that works in this area, but you notice there's also a tab for legal paraprofessionals. So if I click on that, it's going to show me every legal paraprofessional in the state that is currently practicing in the family law area. Now, this is statewide, so maybe I want to narrow it down again, and maybe I want to say Tucson. And I'm going to search that way. And what it's going to do is just go ahead and redo my search. And here's my 3 legal paraprofessionals that are licensed right now in Tucson, and it tells me where they work and how I can contact them. So this is a great resource for you to find both attorneys or legal paraprofessionals, but I want to be sure that you know that it's there and it is updated every single time new licenses are issued. And since LPs are affiliate members of the state bar, that's why you also find them in this area as well.